Hello! So today is 1 year on since we started our Pavlik harness journey, and we've just had our follow-up appointment. So Max has today had an x-ray. It's actually really crazy to think this day, give or take 3 days, was the day that we went into our Pavlik harness, and how much everything has changed, how much more I know now, how much Max has grown, cheeky chappy. So essentially the point of today's appointment was to x-ray him and just see how his hips were developing, how the bones and the sockets were developing. When I sort of called up to check in on this appointment, I did ask them to manage my expectations and to sort of help me understand what I could possibly be expecting from this appointment, because I didn't want to go in expecting everything to be okay and then come out in a similar situation to I was this time last year, come out and suddenly need all this treatment that I didn't know about and I wasn't prepared for. So they sort of just talked me through what was going to happen. He'd have an x-ray, they'd review the x-ray, and that actually it would be unlikely that anything would come out of this appointment. It's just like a check-up just to see how the development is sort of going on, which was fine. So we went today, Max had his x-ray. I've never seen him sit so still in his absolute life. Bearing in mind, he is an absolute nightmare nappy changer or getting dresser. He rolls around all over the shop, but he lied there perfectly still, and it was over and done in seconds, literally. So then we went round to the clinic, and one of the ladies that had seen Max, God, like 9 months ago or so now, saw him again, and she did say, well, what she'd done initially was ask some questions about what Max was doing. So to give you an overview, Max is cruising, so he will pull himself up to standing, he does crawling, he'll take a few steps whilst holding on to something, so like cruising around the sofa. If he's got like a walker or that big red car thing, he'll stand against it and push it and do a couple of steps, but by no means is he walking independently. So I sort of explained that to her, and I think that gave her a little bit of comfort actually, because then when she said to me the results of his x-ray, it sort of made a bit more sense. So Max's sockets are still quite shallow, and that is due to him not weight bearing much yet. So the socket the ball I should say, hasn't sort of embedded itself fully into the socket yet, which is only happens when you start to weight bear. So the ball has like full coverage, which was one of the things that was the problem, a year or so ago, was that the ball was sort of like out here, out the socket, and the covering was not covering everything. So from that perspective, it's good, but there's still a little bit of work to do. So generally they bring cases like Max back again when they're 3 years old, but they're going to bring him back next year just for a further review, just to double check that everything's okay, because obviously the assessments that they have done today are not 100% sign off. Like there is still potentially some room for something not to be 100% right, and I don't think it's that there'd be a dislocation or he'd need treatment or surgery or anything like that again, but it's actually to make sure that the harness hasn't negatively impacted the development of the hip joint, that it hasn't sort of put pressure on the bone, just from the sort of froggy position that they're in when they're in the harness. So no major concerns from that point really, and it's actually quite nice to have another appointment, like just to tick off that he's like all good. The one thing that did get me though is when I was there, the lady who saw Mac actually mentioned that another little baby was just going to go into their harness today, and I knew which one it was because I was sitting next to her just when I was waiting for our appointment. She was a tiny dinky little thing, and it did just bring back so many memories, and I sort of wondered in my head, like, did that mum and dad know what they were going in for? Like, the baby was only small, I can imagine it was probably their first appointment. So yeah, the hospital does only 15 or so harnesses a year, so it's 1 or so a month, so it's quite a small number, so I think they remember all the kids that they treat. I was tempted to stick around and maybe even just for a little bit of moral support and just say, hey, look, here's my son, this was him this time last year, now he's absolutely fine. But when I sort of came out of the room, I could hear the baby crying in the room, and I thought, oh, do you know what, I'm not going to hang around. It's, you know, if they were just there, then I potentially would have. I wasn't going to hang around and like make a scene. And I could imagine that they wouldn't necessarily have wanted to chat to a stranger just as they were like leaving, like what is, you know, ultimately quite a traumatic hospital appointment. But hopefully, you never know, she might come on and do a little bit of YouTubing like I did this time last year. She might find these videos that I've made documenting our journey. She might find that of use. So if you do end up watching this, then hello and good luck, you'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, as you can see, Max is a cheeky chappy as he always has been. He's an absolute chunk now. Generally loving life, quick as anything. Say hello. Hello. So yeah, all good generally from us. I might keep coming on here and just doing a few videos, and people do still reach out to me asking like questions or suggestions and stuff like that, and I love feeding back in, sharing our story. So I'll keep this going, and obviously if there's anything else that crops up in the meantime, then I'll absolutely come on and share it. But this is the appointment that we've been waiting for all those months. And it's been absolutely fine. So I'm going to go before he turns off the camera. Say bye-bye. Catch you later. Oh, Max, you cheeky top.